To project power into the Persian Gulf, the United States relies on massive, self-contained military cities floating right off the coast. These amphibious assault ships are built for one specific task: executing a coordinated ground invasion. The lower decks hold up to 5,000 combat-ready Marines, columns of armored vehicles, and squadrons of attack helicopters waiting for deployment. Their primary offensive weapon is the F-35B stealth fighter. Because the jet uses a specialized nozzle system to direct engine thrust straight down, it can take off and land vertically, entirely removing the need for a traditional concrete runway. Carrying that much firepower makes the ship a massive, high-value target. To survive in hostile waters, it relies on an automated, multi-layered shield called a close-in weapon system. The outer ring of defense consists of radar-guided rolling airframe missiles and Sea Sparrows. These launchers automatically track and destroy incoming threats from miles away before they ever get close to the hull. If a target manages to breach that outer ring, the inner defense takes over. The ship uses automated rotary cannons, known as the phalanx system, to flood the air with heavy, armor-piercing bullets. Firing up to 6,000 rounds per minute, the phalanx creates a literal wall of kinetic energy in the sky, shredding any drone or missile that flies into its path. On paper, a ship boasting thousands of troops, advanced stealth fighters, and a multi-layered missile shield appears totally invincible. But by entering the narrow waters of the Middle East, this conventional force is sailing directly into an asymmetric trap. Every high-tech naval defense system suffers from the exact same mathematical vulnerability: finite capacity. A ship only carries a set number of interceptor missiles, and its radar can only process a specific number of targets at once. Iran exploits this limitation through volume. Instead of engineering expensive, sophisticated weapons, they manufacture thousands of cheap, disposable drones and explosive-laden speedboats. When a coordinated swarm attacks, it forces the high-tech warship to calculate hundreds of incoming trajectories simultaneously. The sheer density of incoming targets pushes the ship's radar right to its processing limits. The swarm is specifically designed to take heavy losses. The first wave of cheap drones forces the ship to expend all of its expensive interceptor missiles. Once those magazines hit zero, the final wave flies through empty air and strikes a defenseless hull. A smaller military does not need better technology to defeat a superpower. They simply have to exhaust the enemy's ammunition. This strategy of volume extends to the air war. Iranian commanders claim that by saturating the sky with low-cost projectiles, they can force high-value assets like the F-15 Eagle into vulnerable engagement zones. At close range, sophisticated radar jamming matters less than basic physics. Defenders utilize infrared-seeking missiles that lock on to the literal 600-degree heat signatures bleeding out of a jet engine. Heavy aircraft designed for low-altitude ground support, such as the A-10 Warthog, are particularly exposed to this thermal targeting strategy. Once locked, the heat from these massive engines provides a clear, unmaskable path for a strike. Look at this satellite map of the Caspian Sea. To coordinate these strikes, the defenders rely on precise targeting data provided by foreign partners, ferried directly across this shared, unblockable maritime border with Russia. Even if the amphibious ships safely offload their Marines, a ground invasion faces an impossible topography. Iran's military is highly decentralized into 31 autonomous factions, operating out of deep tunnel networks buried beneath jagged mountain ranges and vast deserts. American conventional dominance relies on clear targets and open airspace. In this environment, that advantage is eroded by a combination of thermal physics, decentralized command, and unblockable intelligence networks. If their military network is pushed to the brink of collapse, the strategy shifts. The ultimate deterrent relies on targeting the infrastructure of the global economy. This satellite view shows the Strait of Hormuz. It is the primary economic hostage of the region. 20% of the world's daily oil supply must pass through this single, narrow bottleneck. To the west, allied proxy forces, like the Houthi rebels in Yemen, exert control over the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, creating a second choke point for international shipping. The defenders do not need the firepower to sink every massive cargo ship. They only need to hit one or two with cheap missiles. The risk alone drives maritime insurance premiums so astronomically high that global trade halts voluntarily. Iran's true defense mechanism is extortion. The threat of triggering an immediate catastrophic collapse of global supply chains keeps invading forces at a distance. There is one final, brutal target aimed squarely at regional U.S. allies. It relies on a critical vulnerability in the desert: the total lack of natural freshwater. Neighboring Arab states rely almost exclusively on a few centralized desalination plants like this one. Because these nations have no significant natural aquifers, their entire water security is concentrated in a handful of massive industrial coastal nodes. Striking these soft, centralized targets would create an immediate humanitarian crisis that conventional military might cannot fix. The multi-billion-dollar amphibious assault ship is a marvel of engineering, but it is optimized for a style of war that ignores these fragile dependencies. In this theater, victory does not belong to the side with the most advanced aircraft. It belongs to the side that weaponizes the geography, holds global supply chains hostage, and controls the survival of entire populations.